So I'm glad you're here, Walter. Thank you so much. He said there was no sound. I didn't realize my mic was muted. So we're going to start the greeting again. And those of you watching me on Instagram, please tune in on YouTube because they take care of us over there. Okay, the link is in my story. You guys, what I was saying is that last month, in the month of April, we did a 4-part series on the gender roles and whether or not they were relevant today, if they hurt us, if they help us, what is really going on. And so I had people join me every single week last weekend or last month rather, and discuss various things. And I have a lot of questions and things to get off my chest. And so I came upon an amazing video, and the person who was hosting that video, I actually reached out to him, got in touch, and he's going to be joining me tonight to have the conclusion video for this 4-part series. If you guys have not watched the 4-part series, it's actually not difficult to follow. If you watch it tonight, that's fine, but then go back and watch the other 4. They are linked in the description below. Of course, if you want to support what I am doing, feel free to become a patron. I have so many people saying thank you so much for leading the way. A lot of guys are like, finally, we have a voice. We have a voice through somebody who can talk to the women. So if you like what I'm doing and you would like to contribute, you can contribute as little as $5 a month. Goes a long way and it keeps me going. All right, so Walter says he can hear. That's awesome. Good evening, Mr. Perez. Super excited. Oh, and quick announcement since I saw him. He is actually going to be my special guest presenter, I guess you would call it, Bible study leader on Thursday. I invite everyone who wants to come for free on Thursday nights and learn about the spirit realm. We are human beings, 1 part human, 1 part spirit, and so you kind of need to know about the spirit realm if you would like to be successful in this thing we call life. All right, emotions, all that stuff, everything has to do with the spirit realm, so it behooves you to understand what's going on there. All right, guys, we still have a couple people watching on Instagram. Ew, who wants to see a green screen? Come on over to YouTube. Also, it supports a content creator like me, so please come on over if you would not mind. All right, so I'm going to be bringing Alan on. Alan, let me know, give me a hey if you're ready to go, and I will bring you on camera.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to turn off this background blur.
Oh, okay, no worries. So we will keep going with the announcements. You guys, by the way, let me see if I have my yeah, we do got my little handy dandy graphics here. Oh, that's why I did that. You guys see, this is why I need my professional team. All right, so we're going to go over this in case you guys have not seen. I have 2 books. I have one that was inspired by all the conversations I had about men on what men like and dislike on a first date. What things gave that first impression. And so this book is called First Date 101, A Man's Guide to Dating a Man, because I could give you a female opinion, but that wouldn't help you because you're not dating females. So why not get it straight out of the horse's mouth? You guys can actually get that with the link in my bio on Instagram right now today, or in the description, sorry, my story today, or if you are watching on YouTube, you can just grab the link below, okay? The other one is Why Women Love A-Holes. Y'all, you have all heard it. Good men say, oh, you know, we finished last, and women just don't know a good guy when they see it. There's a little bit more to that. So there is a whole idea that there's only the choice between a-holes and self-proclaimed good guys, and I'm here to tell you that that is actually a myth. There's actually a good guy who is right in the center, okay? He is neither a self-proclaimed good guy nor the a-hole. So guys, if you are a self-proclaimed good guy, that book is for you. So please, please, please watch it. Last but not least, if you have not dropped your city and state, drop your city and state so I can shout you out. But also please hit that like button because it lets YouTube know that you are enjoying what you are seeing and it pushes it out to more people in your demographic, okay? All right, so without further ado, we have Alan. Hey, Alan, welcome, welcome. Mr. Obi, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
You are. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am really excited to have this conversation. Can you let the good people know, just like, you know, a little bit of information about you? What do they need to know? Who is this guy on Yancey's show? What is he about? Where can I do a little research on him? Just go ahead and just toot your horn a little bit, man.
Yeah, so I suck at tooting my horn, but my name's Alan Obi. I started an organization called We Need to Talk, and we found our way to YouTube. and we're trying to bridge the gap between Black men and Black women right now. That's the main gap that we're focusing on. Ultimately, we're trying to build a bridge between Africa and the Americas. So
Ah.
yeah, so everything that we do is from an Afrocentric focus, and that's kind of how we have the conversation. And I'm sorry, like I moved yesterday, so everything is like everywhere. So trying to
I
get my life together.
love your whole vibe. Mine is
Thank you, thank
courtesy of
you.
a green screen. You like
Yeah,
actually have the studio windows and everything.
yeah, yeah. This is my apartment.
It's gorgeous. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
gorgeous. Do you have like exposed pipes in the and whatnot in
Yeah,
the ceiling? Oh, I love
yeah.
that look.
All that.
What is
Yeah,
it called? Industrial, like
yeah,
modern
yeah.
industrial. Yeah. No, that's a good
Yeah.
look.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you guys for tapping that link. We are gonna dive right in. The
Do it.
video that I saw was, oh man, I should have the title memorized, but it was the woman who was, you kind of walked her through the process and she had a lot of realizations. I wish I heard the title. I think it was like, is marriage obsolete? Or I'll have to go back and look. But it was amazing because you were able to ask questions in a non-hostile sounding way, and
Hmm.
you just as the viewer watched, you could almost hear the gears going through her
Yeah.
brain. And she was such, in my opinion, she was such a perfect candidate because to me she represented what I hear from women across America, the
Mm.
majority. So kudos to you.
Thank
I
you.
will do my best to remember to post the link in my story so people can see what I'm referring to because it was so good. I was watching like
Thank you.
this and just taking notes and getting inspired as a content creator. So,
Thank you.
all right, two quick shout outs because Susie is so awesome. I always see her on Instagram. She's hailing from Baltimore. And then we have Lynette. She says, hey everyone, Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, my people from Arkansas, so we got to shout out Little Rock. They from Little Rock. Oh, it said Dr. Obi for the for the man for the mandem. Okay, that
For
last
the
part.
man down.
I don't know what that.
We got a Jamaican brother in the
Oh,
chat, I
see,
guess.
my half came out right there, so I was like
Yeah,
struggling with
yeah,
this. Okay. Okay, so let me just adjust my little screen here because I'm doing this like real rinky-dink style because I'm trying to be on a budget over here, so just don't mind me,
Trust
y'all.
me, I understand. I
Look.
understand completely. I understand.
Okay, cool. I think I got it together where if I click stuff, it's not going to throw everything off. All right, so we will dive right in. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So there was, Lord, there was a video that I did. I should play it. Actually, I'm going to play it. There's a video that I did, and then I'll just come back on Instagram. You guys watch on YouTube because I'm about to click off. All right, so hopefully you can hear it. I should have, what do you call it? Uploaded it to the thing so they can see it on YouTube. But y'all just listen to the sound. Oh, I am getting heat for this. And I get why, because the way I worded it sounded kind of weird. And I'm like, there was such a better way of articulating it. But here it goes. Okay. Oops.
I've heard the statistics that there are a lot of Black women who are not married, even though they want to be married, because they are out earning men. And the solution is usually given that men need to step up. Well, if they're not stepping up, then you got to take a more hands-on approach, ladies. Why not, instead of spending your 20s and 30s in your masculine energy, trying to amass as much wealth as you can, trying to be a boss babe, why not spend your energy and focus on getting married? You can get a regular job that pays your bills. You don't have to be dependent on somebody. But why set the bar so high? We know you can do it. Obviously, we see that women achieve. But why not pair yourself up with a man and then use your intelligence to catapult the two of you as a couple? Otherwise, you're going to be way up here and you can't find anyone who's making the money like you. I mean, what do you think?
Okay, so first of all, I said a lot. So do you need it replayed before we break down why people got so pissed?
No, I think I got where you were coming from.
So here, just full disclosure, okay? Because you know when you make a post and everyone's making the same comment, you have to repeat yourself over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was lost on a lot of people. It was very tongue-in-cheek. So the caption said, you want to marry a man, you don't want to marry a man who makes less than you. So my response, it was supposed to be a response video to the women who say, I don't want a guy who makes less. So I tried to give two options. Well, instead of, if you're worried about making too much, why don't you meet the guy before both of you become career people? You know, start out together
Right.
and build. Okay.
Right,
I said,
right.
then the other, and I said, I know you have to earn, like, I'm not naive to think you just can eat off of air. I know you need to work.
Right.
So just, just get you a little job to get you by. But focus on getting married. So this is what a lot of the women who make that argument heard. Lower your standards, bring yourself down,
Yep.
settle, or build a bear.
Right.
So I would like to go piece by piece
Okay.
and break this down. Okay. He says we can't hear you. Is anyone else having trouble hearing? Kenny, if it's only you, it might be your volume, which, why am I speaking as if you can hear me? Let's see. I just realized if you can't hear me, you can't hear what I'm saying. So let me just type in this comment, which YouTube is not letting me type for some reason. There we go. Might be your volume. And of course, it's like 10 minutes later, it still hasn't typed what I've just typed on the keys. It's lagging. Okay, so I broke this down piece by piece by piece. So I'm going to kind of like hand you crumbs at a time, okay?
Okay, I got you.
The first thing that I wanted to talk about is, okay, I don't know why it's so slow. Focusing on career. The first argument is that women say, well, I need provision. And so I give 3 reasons why that is. I should say I want to address that, and then I'm just going to hand it over to you, okay? Oh, thank you. They're letting me know they can hear. Okay. So one option would be very, very traditional. Stay at home.
Okay.
If you have traditional parents like mine, my dad was like, I'll build a wing on the house. Like, do not go out in the world without a husband. Okay. So that's one option. Now, that might not be an option for somebody because maybe their parents weren't in a position, didn't want to, whatever. It wasn't even an option for them. Or 2, they didn't even want that option. Like, it could have been an option, but they don't want it for whatever reason. The other option is they could have lowered their bills by being in a community environment.
Yeah. Okay,
so, but I see a lot of people saying, I want the comfort. I don't want to have a roommate. I don't want to have to deal with another woman, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. So just that first piece, what are your thoughts on the idea or the rebuttal that I didn't want to focus on a career, I just had to provide for myself? Because a lot of these women are going, you're giving all this advice, but you're not being realistic on what it's like in the real world. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm trying to get back on live on Instagram. Sorry, it's playing. Okay, there we go.
It's all good.
All right. So what are your thoughts for the ladies out there who are going, what the heck are we supposed to do? We can't eat off of, love and sunshine.
Yeah, I think, what we see happening is a lot of us are preparing for the worst. And I think, for our community in particular is a man never being around, right? So we prioritize gaining the skills that don't necessarily translate to wife and mother and stay at home and in partnership. So I think that's why it's tough for people to hear, because they're like, I'm just trying to survive and I hope I get a husband. I hope I find my Boaz, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right.
So unfortunately there's a cost to that, but I'm sure we'll get more into that.
I was going to say, you all in my notes, as I figured you would be. I figured you would be. Okay, let me see this. I discovered when things don't work out for men the way they want, they change the narrative to suit their needs and take accountability off of them. Not to say it doesn't. Not to say I don't know if she's saying goes both ways. Maybe she's trying to say goes both ways. I'm not sure. Okay, so quick question for Faith. You can answer it, and we'll come back to your comment, Faith. But Faith, what prompted that in this particular conversation? I would assume, but I don't like to assume, I would assume you think that there's something that men wanted that they didn't get, and therefore they're changing the narrative. So is there an example in this case when it comes to women? Okay, so all right, Alan. So we have talked about. Did you have any thoughts, by the way, of negating the argument of needing to work because they needed provision? Did you have anything to add as far as the option to stay at home? At least exploring the option to stay at home longer or having a roommate, etc. Do you think that's like outlandish? What is your thought on that?
I don't know. I think we're at a crossroads right now. Like we're trying to. So I'll give you an example. So I work in tech now, but before I worked in real estate finance, and 60% of my job was trying to convince people to buy a home, that it was fiscally responsible and this and this and that. But what I soon found out is that that's no longer the American dream for a lot of people, like that traditional buy a home and the whole nine. And I'm starting to suspect that about like relationships. I'm starting to suspect that a lot of us really just like the aesthetic, but we don't necessarily want the duty and the responsibility that comes along with like tethering yourself to somebody for a lifetime. So I don't know. I think the individual just needs to be honest with themselves about what they want and then go from there and go in that direction.
So it's very interesting that you say that. And we are, like I say, just all of my notes, of course. But a lot of women got upset when men were making comments like that, implying, because a man looks at it very logically and says, if a woman says, I want this, but they see them doing this, the assumption is you must, based on your actions, you must not want that, right? So I get why the men think that, and they're coming to that conclusion, like, women really don't want that. So for me, that's why I called my series Make It Make Sense. Because what people are saying and what they are doing don't seem to correlate. And so I think this is going to be
dissonance.
Yes. So I think this is going to be very interesting. Okay, so if a person had the highest priority, this is where everything I keep coming from. If their highest priority, and that's the key word, highest priority is to get married, everything else gets funneled through their lens. And so we're going to look at some of the objections next. And like I said, we have options that we don't exercise. And by the way, when I gave the roommate thing, that applies to anybody. I mean, if you really want to take it, like if you genuinely were really trying to buy a house, for example, and you really wanted to save money, I said this, you could literally pack like 12 people into a house. You could go out and buy some IKEA bunk beds and live like, I say, like a prisoner. Like, you know how prison style where they just they're just putting people in. They're not trying to make it livable, have seating areas. No chaise lounge. And imagine if you made big dishes like pot roast or spaghetti or tacos where you just need a bunch of ground beef. If you really want something, you'll figure out how to make it happen. Okay, so the second thing. So that my first one is the reason why I'm not married is because I had to focus on my career. It's a luxury to do the other stuff. The second thing is I see a love of money. Okay, these are coming directly from the comments. This is not speculation of me staring at a wall, contemplating my navel. These are actual comments. The women were saying they like the lifestyle that being a career woman gives them. They like being able to get the handbags, get the car. They don't like having to go through and rely upon someone else, which this gets into where I say, y'all, my notes. What you were saying is if a woman says, I desire marriage, but her reason for getting that job is now going beyond simple provision, roof over the head, whatever. How does it come across as a man?
You don't really want it. You don't really want, like I said, I think a lot of us are just in love with aesthetics, right? And I actually made a video a while back before this newfound YouTube success, but it was entitled "Me and Somebody's Son is Toxic." And in that video, I talked about how we have boiled down companionship to simply an aesthetic, right? Like I ask myself sometimes, I'll see a picture on Instagram and it'll be a couple in a like a bathtub and they're both naked covering, each other's genitals. And I'm like, who took that picture? Like, did y'all set up a tripod to make the Instagram universe jealous? And like what happened before this, what happened after this, right? And to a lot of people, unfortunately, especially our women, like who didn't grow up seeing what actual love looked like, the aesthetic is the easiest thing to jump to. Like I say all the time, when men are feel disempowered in their everyday life, a lot of times we'll escape to video games and virtual reality.
Yeah.
And for women, virtual reality tends to be rom-coms and novels and 50 Shades of Grey. And they think that that is what life should be and that is what love should look like. And it doesn't work. It definitely doesn't work for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Look.
But yeah.
Because Instagram might go away by then.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
No, it's a great point. I actually have a post in the queue for Instagram where it's, do you actually want the man or do you like how you look in the photo with him?
Facts.
Do you actually want him or do you just want the provision? There was that guy who went viral for dressing up as an ATM. Did you see that?
Right.
For Halloween?
No, I haven't seen it.
He was dressed up as an ATM and he was surrounded by, I think it was a wife and 2 daughters. It was definitely a wife and some kids, but I think it was, all female. And I just thought that's a sad, humorous, costume because many men feel like they are just a resource of money. And it's apparent because if you ask, this is the biggest indicator to me. When women say, I don't even know what to get him as a gift. If you don't even know what to buy somebody as a gift, you really don't know them. And if you've been living with them for years and you don't know that, that's pretty telling.
And I think honestly that's why guys are opting out. At least guys aren't as enthusiastic about monogamy as they used to be because number one, a lot of men are being reduced to just their utility, right? I am a walking penis with money, right? That's really all I am. And then on top of that, every popular depiction we see in the media of a husband is somebody who's less than intelligent, or at least compared to their wife. It's like mom knows best, dad doesn't know what he's talking about, or he has to relegate himself to like the basement or like the man cave because the wife and the kids run the house. So like boys are growing up watching this like, why would I want that, right? And I think we haven't had that conversation yet.
It's so powerful. I actually did had a class in college, and it was the history of racism. Interestingly enough, it was taught by a Caucasian woman. Oh, she did a profound job, though. Like, I was not prepared. And she was talking about how subtle, yet extremely intentional the media was. And she broke down, like, everywhere from the 50s, 60s, 70s. And she was saying, strategically, when it came to Black representation, they made sure that the man was not present. Even if, even if it could just be an unexplained absence, like they just it never came up in the story. Where's the dad? Or he was dead, or, and I thought, oh my God, this is a strategic thing. And I think that's the part that is so sad. Again, I have another one in the queue coming out talking about the mainstream media and the agenda. So many of my sisters are completely unaware of the agenda. They have no idea this is an actual conspiracy, not a theory. It is a proven conspiracy. And so I don't want to digress too much, but this is serious. And I really want men to feel heard just as much as women, because although it's a man's world and men do run things, when it comes to the narrative, men don't have a voice. If they do, they are canceled. Oh, yes. Bottom of the totem pole.
Black men, yeah.
Yes. And if you guys are emotional in your voice, then you really are going to get canceled, because now
Yeah.
you're not really a man because you have emotions tied to your thoughts.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
becomes a really volatile, it's like a powder keg just waiting for an explosion. Not that the explosion's condoned, but you can understand because you saw it coming a mile away.
And that's part of the reason I even started the channel, because I quickly realized, even though Kevin Samuels makes very good points, the average man cannot approach conversation in that way and be successful in his
Oh,
life.
no.
Like even if he's hitting every single fact, verifiable data, if he approaches it with that tone, with that disposition, it's not going to work. So
Yeah.
I try to take a tone that I feel like any man could use and be effective with his wife, his daughters, baby mama, his mom, Um, and I hope it's successful, but time will tell.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I actually did a video on him, but I chose to take it down because I just really want to shy away from content that, like, the content I produce that specifically is like centered around somebody else, just because, well, there's a bunch of reasons, but it doesn't go well a lot for a woman, especially to critique a man. It's just an unspoken
Sure.
hierarchy,
Sure.
which, by the way, God created. Anyway, don't come for me, come for him if you feel need to come for someone. But no, I was saying that I actually think he speaks a lot of truth. I just don't think he speaks it in a language women can easily understand, because women understand the language of love. If they feel
Sure.
safe emotionally, their guard is down. And I said, it's just like in boxing, no person comes into the ring like this. Why? Because they're going to get hit. So they do this. And so what happens is when there is criticism, it feels like a jab. So the woman naturally puts her hand up. That's a natural human response, is if you're attacked, whether it's spiritually through words or it's physically, you're going to attack. So the only counter is to create an environment that makes it feel like it's not a boxing match.
Right,
and so when
right.
a man speaks with calmness, empathy, tries to understand where she's coming from, tries to explain, she lowers it very slowly and subconsciously. And that's what I heard on your video. And I was like, who is this man behind the camera?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I didn't hear the condescension. And this is what I'm learning from women. They've been working with me because I try to be funny and sarcastic and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're not at the point of laughing yet. Like some of us are still hurting. And so a lot of these women, they're hearing the advice and it sounds as though we're saying, go fly on a magical kite and swim with rainbows and unicorns and dolphins. And they're like, this isn't even relatable. So there's so much of a need to have things broken down to a granular level. I'm trying to really go there because some stuff I thought was obvious and it's really, really not. A lot of it's getting lost in translation. So Faith made a comment, and we will get back to this one because it kind of fits in the outline that I have. She said, I feel like men have been left behind in women getting freedom in education and in the workplace. They're still looking for that woman who can churn butter into milk. Men have always been providers. Bullet point that, okay? We're going to put our little pin in that. Because we are going to talk about traditional versus non-traditional, and I cannot wait. Okay, I'm over here salivating. Y'all, if you're on Instagram, please come to YouTube. They take care of us over here more than Instagram. So please come on over. It's nothing for you, but everything to me. Thanks. Okay. All right, but we live in a patriarchal society. All right, so it says men have every space to speak their mind and their truth, but they don't. I will have to say that is actually just a blatant it's just not the case. I'm trying to say it in a nice way. When a man tries to speak out, he gets attacked in a way that a woman is not. If a man were to cry, he would be called, hello, look at Devon Franklin, look at Tyrese, look at any man who showed emotion that wasn't anger, and he was ripped apart. Even if it was anger, but unbridled, shall we say, somebody on a very famous stage, okay? Men are not allowed the same graces that women are. I'm just saying, unless it's really extreme, like a Britney Spears shaving her head, we tend to go there. She's feeling emotional. We get it. Okay. So the second bullet point is that a lot of women are falling in love with the power that comes from money. The world says he who makes the gold makes the rules. So nobody can deny that on this realm, that is considered the system of this world. Money runs this world, this natural world. Now, this gets into what Faith brought us to next. So organically, women do not respect men who make less. And I can understand that because from the study of energy, masculine versus feminine. By the way, are you pretty versed with that whole study?
Not super versed, no.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but I haven't done
The basic premise is very, very simple. It's an 80-20 thing.
Okay.
Actually, I still have the graphic. So let me just put the graphic up really quick. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see this. All right, so 80-20 split. Why is my screen weird? Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on one second. Oh, that's why. Okay, there we go. Anyway, it's weird right now. Okay, so what you're gonna have, it helps if I actually hit the right thing. Sorry, guys.
I can see it.
It's cropped off. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
So here you see it. For the woman, it's 80% feminine energy and 20% masculine energy. And then for the men, right next to my hand, is 80% masculine energy and 20% feminine. Now, even though masculine and feminine, sound linked to male and female, it's not 100% exclusive, meaning obviously a woman has both, a man has both. And the very, very simple way, it's overgeneralization, but the very simple way of describing it is masculine energy is about doing, accomplishing. It's very linear. It's very natural. It's very five senses. Mm-hmm. I'm putting this very, very, bluntly, or what is the word? Summarizing. Succinctly. Thank you. Feminine energy is all about the intangible. It's about being, existing, feeling. Okay. So imagine a man who goes out and does everything, but he can't feel anything. He would literally be a robot. And then imagine a woman who just exists all the time. She'd be basically a spirit, which is who has a human shell. You cannot just sit around emoting and feeling all day, and you can't go without stopping. So God created us to have a little bit of balance. However, a man is more tapped into the logical do, use my five senses. A woman is more intuitive. I feel a leading to do this. Okay. And it's also creativity. So any man who is a creator, rapper, painter, singer, dancer, he has to tap into his feminine energy, because any way that you express yourself comes out of feminine energy. So we have to quickly dismiss the idea that it's tied to sexuality. However, there are common occurrences, which is typically a man has 80% masculine and women typically have 80% feminine. So the reason why I got into all that was because, and let me bring back my other screen here. The reason I get into that is because we cannot deny our nature. You can choose to override it, but it's going to be there as a default. Just like if you're ticklish, you don't choose to be ticklish. So a woman in her feminine energy naturally wants to be provided for, and a man in his masculine energy naturally wants to be the provider. That's why most guys are uncomfortable sitting around the house cooking and cleaning, and their woman is out bringing home the bread. Because a man wants to do and achieve and accomplish. So when a woman says, I want a guy who makes more, I understand that. But the problem is, the very reason they have that innate desire is the same reason the men are turned off by the career-focused woman. It's because she is now operating in her...
Too much.
Yes. She's off balance. So they're saying, I want to continue to choose from a place of my feminine energy, but sir, I don't want you to choose based off of your masculine energy.
Masculine energy, right. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, like, where did this theory come from? Was it a person? Was it a study? Like,
I don't know who the original person who came up with the concept was. Mm-hmm. However, I will say personally, the more I dig into it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I do
Definitely.
couples counseling. And so when I hear certain conversations, it affects the way men hear. It affects the way they do things. It just he said we black folks fall for everything. Uh, whether the titles change or not, the concept makes sense. Think about this. When you ask a guy his position about something, does he typically say, I think, or does he say, I feel?
I think.
If you ask
Yeah.
a woman what is her, how she sees something, she says, I feel.
I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with a friend today, and I said, it's not that I think women are less intelligent than men. I think that there is a shield of emotion that comes up first. And she has to get through that shield first before she can tap into her mind. And so it's like being on fire. You're not processing thoughts while you're on fire. You're like, I need to get the fire out first. Once you put the fire out, then you can go there. With the men, it's the opposite. He has to get to the wall of thinking. Once he gets past the wall of thinking, he goes, now what am I feeling about this? And it takes requirements. So like I said, from my personal experience, and I've studied it deeply, and I've actually even lined it up with the Word of God, I have found nothing fallible about that. And furthermore, when I have male clients who are struggling to get female that they like, women that they like, the men always have high feminine energy.
That's a fact.
And if you look at a rubber band, I'm very visual. So I took a rubber band and I said, this is polarity, because polarity is required for opposites, right? Our opposites attract because of polarity. So masculine energy would be like you're pulling on a rubber band this way. Feminine energy is like you're pulling on a rubber band this way, because you imagine femininity is all the way off screen, masculinity is all the way off screen. And as we pull closer to that, there becomes tension in the rubber band. That tension is sexual tension. And if you pull it enough, eventually it wants to come back together. So you have that fire. So what happens is, if a man gives up a little bit of his masculine energy, the woman compensates, and it happens subconsciously. So, for example, with the good guy, I always say the self-proclaimed good guy, he sees himself as gentle and kind because he's so accommodating. Masculine energy leads with authority. So when a woman sees kind and accommodating, she hears not leader, not taking authority. So he doesn't understand why he's not getting the same respect as the man in his masculine. So, like I said, so far I haven't seen any.
No, I agree with it. I think I was actually having this conversation earlier today, like the whole nice guys finish last argument. And, I was saying that it's true.
It is.
And unfortunately, it's true because number one, nice is not honest.
I should say self-proclaimed nice. I have to put that caveat.
Exactly. Nice is not honest. If somebody's being nice, they're self-sacrificing themselves for the pleasure, or for the agreement, or for the acceptance of others.
Yeah.
And typically, women or females have to do that. Females of any species, because they need a group to survive.
Right.
Whereas males need to be disagreeable to go out and conquer the world. So, yeah, it's a big. I think that's a great paradigm to think about it, especially for the guys who are struggling with. But I'm kind, and I bought her flowers, and she still doesn't want me. It's because you're not being honest. You're not being yourself.
That was literally my client. He literally bought her flowers, and she stood him up. And I said, either she's an absolute horrible person who's like, ha ha ha, maniacal, or it's a deep subconscious thing, which I'm leaning towards B. And I said, if you're always available, subconsciously the value for your time deteriorates. And he's always available whenever she wants, and she keeps forgetting their dates or oversleeping. The minute he became less available, guess what? She didn't forget that next date. I said, is it a coincidence?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Miles Monroe?
No, wait, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah, he was a Bahamian preacher. He died in a plane crash some years back.
Oh, it sounds so
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah. But he like after this, like YouTube some of his videos, he spits fire. Like but he was doing a particular sermon about relationships, and obviously he's coming from a biblical context, and he was saying that, um in the first the most romantic story, or the story that teaches us how to love, is Genesis and the creation of man. And he says that before God created Eve, before God gave man a woman, the very first thing that he showed Adam was himself. He said, I am God. So the first thing Adam saw was God. And he translated it to mean that a man's first priority should be God. He said, after that, the very next thing he gave Adam was the garden. And he tasked Adam with tending to the garden, all the creatures in it, all the plants, animals, the whole nine. So the very second thing he gave Adam was purpose, was work. And then he gave Eve to Adam as a helpmate to help him with the purpose and work. And unfortunately, whenever a man messes up that order of operations, it never goes well. If you prioritize women or a woman over your purpose, she can't respect you.
1,000%.
And a lot of guys, and according to the algorithm, I guess I'm in the manosphere, but a lot of guys subscribe to this red pill ideology, and all red pill is it's coming from the Matrix. It's now I can see how things actually are. And one of the first signs that you're red pill is rage. It's called red pill rage. It's an anger. And unfortunately, that anger comes from men feeling like they were lied to because they listened to their moms. A lot of them were single mothers, unfortunately. Yes. They listened to girls in high school. They listened to the chatter. They listened to the media. And it wasn't consistent with biology. It wasn't consistent with our deep subconscious, like you're referring to.
The math
it never
math
works out.
Yeah.
It never maths. The math never maths.
So. No, it's so true. Sorry, I thought there's more you were about to say. No, it's so true. There was Matthew. I almost said McConaughey. Is not McConaughey, but Matthew something. He's like a huge expert on relationship. Matthew Hussey from I think Australia. Yeah. And he did it. I have a clip, and I think it's just sitting in my queue getting cobwebs. But he basically said, my mom was like, be this nice guy, and he goes, I was always the friend that held the purse. Like, and he's not even a bad looking guy. So he said,
doesn't matter.
Right. So and I said,
it doesn't matter.
I was like, you know what? We as women, we recognize what we want deep down. We just lack the knowledge of how to get there. It's like saying, I want to be in a warm climate, a warm climate with sand, but we don't know how to tell you to get to the beach. So we will suggest things like, well, this, well, that, and we don't get where we're trying to go because, for example, a lot of women will say, I want more time with you. And the reality is they don't. Because if they got if they got tons of time with them, they would actually be annoyed and they'd be irritated that they don't have money. If a man just dropped everything, was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. And so a lot of times we struggle to articulate. All right, so I know I got off at a tangent, but I promise I'm going somewhere. Okay.
You're fine.
I want to, so we're still on the loving the money, okay? And I don't know if you're a believer or not. I'm a believer.
I can sense that. I'm a documentary filmmaker by night. And one of the films that I'm working on right now is called Christian by Default. And it's inspired by my journey with theology and theodicy and the whole nine. So I'm Christian by default. That's
interesting. A lot of Black people are.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the reason why I was saying that I'm a believer is because everything that I believe in is based on the scripture. And so I don't have stances on my own off of preference. on fundamental principles. It's all going to have to be backed by the word of God. And so the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil, even though that gets misquoted 99% of the time. People say money is the root of all evil. Money makes a lot of things happen. But the love of money is the root of all evil. So when I look at women who out of their mouth say, I want a relationship with a man, but then turn around and say, I'm going to focus on the career. Again, going back to this is beyond provision, because if it was just provision, there are alternatives. But you see, there is a love of money, and now there's starting to be a problem. I had a woman reach out to me for counseling, and she said, I'm losing respect for my husband because I'm accelerating past him. I'm making more than him. I don't feel like he has as much drive as me. And it is poisoning these women. And again, we're not talking about you're living in third world countries. You don't know if you're going to get running water, stuff like that. We're talking about the difference between a G-Wagon and maybe well, I don't want to say name brands, but a sensible car. We have put money as the God for a lot of these situations and acting like we are being mistreated because we're not getting Birkin bags. The second thing is, we were talking about the energy. So when a woman says, I don't respect a man who makes less than me, we talked about it's because of masculine energy. But again, they dismiss these rules as being patriarchy, calling it chauvinism, calling it all these names, but yet they are applying the same rule. It cannot be patriarchy and chauvinism when there's a pecking order. But then when it serves you, that's just being a man. So either it's being a real man or it's chauvinism. But the action is the same. A man saying, this is my I'm in charge. I'm the final say, And the correlation between each, we can't have it both ways. That's the part that women are losing men on, because what they're saying is, I want to judge you by this coin, but if you take the same coin and flip it over and judge me, nope.
Right.
Don't do that. What was the other thing? Oh, and then here's the last part, and then we're going to move on to the next section. A lot of women expressed that they do want a man. They don't want to have focus on their career. They're not idolizing money, but they are terrified of being dependent on a man. Now, I have a very unique situation because I was in a position where I was that woman who wanted to get married. The second I was allowed to date, because my parents forbade me to date even in college. So please don't date in college. Wow. Yeah. So the second I graduated, started working, met a guy, 3 months later we were engaged. I was playing no games. And the thing is that I became very aware that it was going to be extremely difficult for me if I ever chose to leave, because my degree was so old. And after a while, your degree doesn't matter. It's your experience with that degree. And so it was scary. I was like, I don't even think I can make $10 an hour if I ever decided to leave. So I can understand that mindset. However, I don't think that getting married means you can do nothing else. What is your thought about the idea that to sign up for marriage and be a domestic, focus on your marriage means that you have to be completely dependent on him to survive? Because the argument is also this. Sorry, I want to add this just for the women's sake. Ahead. It's not always because the woman is ready to leave as far as a divorce. It could also be, God forbid, he passes away, or leaves her.
Yeah. It's tough. I think, part of the reason I have the tone that, I'm known for is because I empathize with women. You guys have especially in 2022, you guys have a very interesting, complicated dance in the world, especially if you want companionship. I think the bad news is, so I was a business major, And one of the concepts we talk about is opportunity cost. It's the actual cost of the decision that you did not make.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, what we see happening with some of the boss bays is the opportunity cost for leading an industry, or becoming partner at your law firm, for making six figures at your investment company, is that you have to sacrifice a bit of your femininity. You have to become, and kind of like you alluded to, you have to sit in more of that masculine, disagreeable, no nonsense energy. And unfortunately, it doesn't turn off as easily as Hollywood would make us think. Like,
Yeah.
that becomes who you are. So again, I think nowadays it's really about the individual asking themselves, what do I want, and how can I best put myself in the position to get it? I know a friend of mine was telling me that some some of our Caucasian brethren, or sisterin, I guess, they go to law school not necessarily to become lawyers, but to find a lawyer. And the
Yes.
same with med school, right? So they have adopted, I guess, that strategy to go about it. But again, I'm not a woman. I can just speak to, if you want a man similar to the type of man that I am, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's
So,
tough, man. What do you think?
so this is my thought, because I've given a lot of thought to it. And so to your, what is it? To your credit, I just put you on the spot with this. But having been in that situation and being where I am now, I feel like it's kind of like the person who's working for someone else but wants to become an entrepreneur one day.
Yeah.
If you are on the clock, you have opportunities where you have a little bit of downtime. Everybody knows in your job, sometimes there's not really anything to do, or it doesn't require brain power, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Like my friend, he just became a trucker. I'm like, wow, you can listen to podcasts nonstop and things like that and educate yourself. What I would advise women to do is look at yourself as an investment. Like, look at education as an investment. There's so much free information out there. Let's just say, for example, you're walking your kid. Let's say you're a full-time mom. When your child is really, really little, you don't need to necessarily talk to them. It's not like they're asking you questions or like a baby. You could be learning how to invest in real estate. You could be learning how to speak another language. You could be learning how to be a transcriptionist or what have you. You could be learning trades and tools and things. And also, if you have the right attitude, pick your husband's brain for everything he knows, meaning plan on something bad happening. Like, hope for the best, but make a plan for the worst. Babe, I know we do, such and such with whatever credit union. Like, where are the passwords? What is the login information? Because I heard a guy say it, I thought it was great. He said a responsible man wants to set his family up for winning, even in his absence. So God forbid he becomes incapacitated or, whatever. She should be able to completely function. So I think this notion that you're just this bimbo, like, oh my God, it's my husband. Like, no, you should you should literally be almost further than him, because you have more, I say, downtime. But as you're cleaning, as you're cooking, we're doing a lot of tasks that don't require brain power. You're very automated, type of thing, mechanical skills. Mm-hmm. So you could be learning. For me, I study all day long, all day, because the type of job that I have, it gives me that freedom as an entrepreneur. And so I'm like, man, if I could go back and do it again, I would have made myself the most educated person out there with skills that cannot be overlooked.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to partly, I think some men feel like women or their women aren't curious enough about them. And what I mean by that, I remember there was a trend on TikTok a while back, and the girls they would come to their boyfriend on the couch and they'll be like, hey babe, can you show me how to do this thing that you do all the time? And the way that the guys would light up, like, oh my God, I've been waiting to teach you how to play World of Warcraft, right? Or 2K or whatever. But unfortunately, part of that, going back to the whole helpmate thing, is if you are becoming an asset for that man, if you are a value consultant, you become a nerd about it. Like, we've seen movies where like a basketball player, for instance,
Yeah.
is walking off the court and one of the cheerleaders is heckling him because he didn't score or get enough rebounds. Like she knows his stats better than him,
Right.
right? You understand what I'm
And
saying?
he's like,
So like she's really invested, and if you are invested into a man that you admire, I think that becomes natural. You know exactly what he's doing. You know exactly how he does it. If he left you tomorrow, you could recreate his business even better, or it's less likely for him to leave you because he needs you.
Make
You become
yourself
such a valuable asset.
right.
He needs you.
They say that in work. They said if you want to get job security, make yourself irreplaceable.
Mm.
And this
That actually brings up a good point. I think something that's happening though, and this is why I like the job analogy. There's no entitlement with work. You have to earn your paycheck. You have to earn, the 30 days, 90-day probationary period. But with, human partnership, we feel kind of entitled to it. So I don't have to work. I don't have to learn about my job. I don't have to be evaluated. You're supposed to be here. You should be thankful I'm here. So I think that's part of it too.
I 100% agree, and that's the perfect segue to the next part. A lot of times I think women see their value in their bodily functions. And I don't blame them because that's what the mainstream media says. That's what your value is your body, right? So when I ask women, okay, you have a career and you have marriage. How did you prepare for the career? They can rattle it off. I went to school. I interned here. I did this. I did I shadowed this person. Okay, cool. Check.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage. How did you prepare for it? I really wanted a husband.
I prayed.
How did you prepare? Not what did you really, 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 really want?
Yeah.
Crickets. One person was like, I don't have time to list it all out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did you do to prepare? One woman on the post, it was in response to someone else, she said, and I quote, I've never cared to find out what a man wants in a wife.
Mm-hmm.
There is such an attitude, and I know that not everybody is guilty of every single crime.
Sure.
But I highly doubt, because I did a post, I said, besides sex and feeding him, what do you think the top requirements are from a wife? Just the top. Like, could you just take a stab at the top 5? And there was a struggle. And this is the difference between the average woman and the exceptional woman.
Mm.
The exceptional woman says, there's a job I want. I'm going to research this company. I'm going to find out when it started. Who are the top people there? What are the opportunities for, growth? What are the stock options? Where is it located?
What's the turnover?
Look, you want to know everything about the company.
Mm-hmm.
And so these women are saying, I want to be a wife. They don't know the first thing about being a wife. The sad thing about me, I was groomed to be a wife. I taught etiquette school. I can walk with books on my head. I know how to dress. You could take me to the White House or the hood. Okay? I'm actually more comfortable in the White House than the hood. I was groomed to be a wife. So I knew, checklist, what to do. You know what I lacked when I got married?
What?
The self-discipline to actually execute the tasks.
Wow.
So some women have the tenacity, don't know what to do. Other women, spoiled brats, know what to do and don't have the character to do so. And so to me, gold is, I know what to do, and I have checked to see if I have what it takes to actually do it. This is what I say. Right. If you say you want to be a homemaker, that means the maker of a home. You can't say, well, how did I keep my home if you don't have a home? But what you do have is, you had a bedroom. You had a dorm room. You have a car currently.
Thanks.
How is it that you think you're going to have In-N-Out wrappers, pizza boxes, Old Mail, gym socks in your car, but yet you're saying you're going to be this great housekeeper? You can't make top ramen, but you're talking about you're going to cook.
Disney Stories did that. Remember Cinderella? The fairy godmother, literally just transformed her instantaneously into another thing. And I think subconsciously, a lot of people think that that's how life works, and it doesn't. Like, I've
You put the
heard
ring
too
on.
many stories of men and women finally getting the person of their dreams, similar to getting the job of their dreams. But they get fired after a week because they didn't know how to execute, or they didn't want to execute, or they didn't have the proper cultural disposition, temperament, or whatever. And it's like, I think we do a lot of lip service to what we want. And we don't actually want it. Like somebody like me, I'm going to tell you flat out, you don't want it. You don't want it. You like what it looks like, but you don't really want it.
It's like the person who says, I want a nice body. I used to say that for years because I was always blessed with just being skinny. So I never, ever had to work out. I ate crap all day long. And I was that person everyone hates, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then time came, and adverse reaction to the medication came, and I ended up gaining like 60 pounds, and I was like, oh, I want my old body back.
Yeah. And
finally, I said to myself, girl, you don't want your old body back. Not any more than you want to. Certainly not more than you want to keep doing what you're doing. And I realized what it was is I did want my old body back, but wanting to do what I wanted to do outweighed it. Your actions speak louder than words. And I finally got to the place where I said, I'm okay with being overweight. I forced myself to say it because then I couldn't hide subconsciously behind anything else. I said, when I'm ready to lose weight, I will lose weight. And it's true. When you are actually ready to lose weight, you put the freaking junk down.
Yeah. You got to be tired of your own.
You have to finally get tired. When you get tired enough, people are like, well, I don't know workouts. I didn't know workouts, but I knew that if my heart rate went up, my fat would go down. So I was dancing like a white girl. I was jumping jacks. I didn't have a fancy Pilates routine. I just moved my butt, and guess what? Pounds started coming off. Right. I knew the difference between a Big Mac and a carrot.
Oh, yeah.
So, actually, how are you doing on time, by the way? Because I always am overly ambitious with my timeline. Okay.
Nah, you're good.
She said, but Cinderella was a homemaker. She took care of 3 grown men. Here's the thing, though. Or 3 grown women. Here's the thing. Cinderella lived in a cottage out in the woods. What was required to be a princess, if you actually have looked at documentaries on royalty, it is no small feat. Like, you have to go through so much training. So the reason why that analogy works is because she, as a maiden, some domestic maiden, would not have the training, cultivation, just pedigree required for that.
Pedigree is the best word.
Right?
Pedigree, yeah, absolutely.
If you're in England, like people talk like real Cockney, and then there's a difference between the Queen's English. It's completely different. You're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Okay. So, all right, where do I want to go? Okay, so here are the questions. The top 2 questions that women ask. The first one is, should we dim our light? Should you dim your light? And my answer was obviously no. Nobody is saying you could be great, so settle for this. I was simply saying, if you are claiming to want a relationship, every time it comes to a compromise, you better be leaning on marriage. And I'll give you 3 examples where somebody's actions did not match their words. There was a woman who fell in love, got proposed to. Like, this was the guy of her dreams. They both agreed, they didn't fight. They had the same story. It wasn't like she was acting like it was great and he wasn't. They both said it was phenomenal. The reason the relationship ended, they lived in different states. She literally would not move to his state.
Wow.
That is an example to me of somebody putting their career over the man.
Right.
And I think she was like in the medical industry. So it's like, I mean, you can get so that's one example.
I mean, she didn't really want it.
Her action said she didn't want it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The second woman was, she was struggling to see her boyfriend. She's like, I have an amazing boyfriend. She's like, she does a little confessional. She said, man, I wish my job wasn't so strenuous. Again, like, you're really picking. And the job that she had, interestingly enough, she was in real estate. So it's not even like it's a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to schedule it to where you're showing. Anyway, the third example, is a husband and wife. It was actually the same show, but she's also in real estate. And her husband flips houses. Like, he does the physical labor. So you would think you could come together and be working on projects together, but they weren't making it a priority to hang out together. So their relationship was on the rocks. Again, you don't have these problems if you're putting the relationship first, which is why, you know, the woman staying at home is usually ideal. Okay, the other option too is that if a woman doesn't want to, sorry. So if she wants to grow with a man, this is what I suggested. I said, start at the starting line together. So let's say you and I are both fresh out of college. You haven't amassed wealth. I haven't amassed wealth. But I can see in you the tenacity, the characteristics, all, you know, you're a family man, whoop-de-whoop, we're the same faith, same goals. We could start out together. They said, I don't want to build a bear. And then down the road, he's, you know, I've spoiled him or what have you, right? Which to me, I'm like, sounds like a vetting issue, but okay. The other option is don't start at the starting line together. Do what I did. I married someone 15 years older than me, 14 and a half. I got a chance to see what he could do. So there was no surprise when I got with him. Like, he already had the house, he already had the car, he already had, you know, everything was done. So that's also an option. And hello, men love a younger woman because they have better biological chances. So you already have that going for you. And so what was the other thing? So those are the arguments that, you know, I have. Ladies in the comments, if there's still a question that you have unanswered, please let me know, because I still don't see where there isn't a solution to the rebuttals. These are the rebuttals that I get.
Right.
I don't want to build a bear. I don't want him using me down the road. So what argument have I not covered? And people say, well, why can't I focus on both? And you know that saying, where focus goes, energy flows.
Energy flows.
So why don't you give your take on that? Why do you think it is that a woman cannot give equal energy to both things, or two things in any capacity, in any part of life?
It doesn't work like that.
Why not?
I think it just absolutely doesn't work like that. But I think, again, if you spent so much time focusing on becoming the boss, you don't know how to be the bae. And, you know, I think, unfortunately, women, okay, analogy. I was an athlete in high school. I'm not an athlete anymore. I'm out of shape. But on the football field, typically we knew that, you know, if a kid was super athletic, he probably didn't show up to practice on time. He probably wasn't in the weight room when he needed to. He probably wasn't eating right or whatever. Like, I saw a recent clip of DK Metcalf. He's a wide receiver for the Seahawks, I believe. And he talks about, like, eating one meal a day and going to get a cup of coffee and eating a bowl of Skittles. And that's his regimen. And he's ripped. Like, he's built like a Greek god. Now, the average Joe can't do that. And he's not going to be able to do that for the rest of his life. Ocho Cinco talked about eating McDonald's all the time, right? Now, the reason why somebody like Tom Brady is always going to become the GOAT is because he's not blessed with the same natural advantages of these other guys. So not only does he have to work harder, he also has to spend more time focusing on developing the fundamentals, the soft skills, the nuances of his game. And that ends up being more sustainable over time. And I think what happens is a lot of Black women are gorgeous. And a lot of times they rely on that. And that those looks are, you know, akin to that 40-inch vertical or that 4.5 speed. You might go number one in the draft, but you might end up being a bust as well because you don't know how to drop back. You don't know how to train. You don't know how to eat right. You don't know the things that are actually going to sustain your career in that sport, or in this case, your career with a man, or your life with a man. So I think, again, when you figure out what you want, because I think ultimately, especially these days, a lot of women have to be honest and say they don't actually want marriage. Like, let's call it, stop making these men feel bad. You don't really want marriage. But for the ones that do, right, stop relying on your athleticism. It's not going to last for always. Stop relying on your look. Stop relying on the fact that you can step out and put that dress on and get any man's attention.
Because they're equating.
You need to start developing the soft skills.
They're equating attention with meritability.
Yeah. Retention, attention, two different things. And men know this. Men know this.
He
men
said
know
attention
that,
or
if
retention.
a woman, say that again, I'm sorry.
No, I was repeating. You said retention or attention.
Yeah. Attention. It's two different things. Like, our struggle as men is getting attention. And that's why we have to go out there and conquer the world and get the resources and get the disposition and get the leadership and get the experience that makes us more attractive to the opposite sex. Women don't, if you're an attractive woman, you don't struggle.
Just show up
with attention.
Yes.
Right? You can, again, going back to like the job analogy, you can get a job fairly quickly. Can you keep one? How does your resume end up looking if you're jumping job to job to job to job? So again, we have to be more pragmatic about what we say we want.
This comment I have to address right now. The statement was made, the vast majority of Black women have never been given the luxury to be carefree and feminine. So help me so serious. Help me understand how being feminine is a luxury. Because let's just say I work 3 jobs. I'm very capable of being feminine. Because for me, it is a mindset, it is a disposition. I was at work and I bagged a freaking unicorn. 6'3", former pro athlete, chocolate brown, nice man of God. Because while I was punching in, my head was on a swivel. She was trying to become a Mrs.
Scanning.
She was scanning. And he was the most eligible bachelor in the whole office. The women hated me. But please believe if I had an opportunity to walk this way to the printer or past this office that had the big window, honey, she was walking past the office. She was not confused. And women think it's so patronizing. I'm not trying to get a man. If you want to be married, or I'm not dressing like that for a man, I'm dressing because I like, can we all just be really honest? Yeah. I'm not saying have no life of your own, never make any choices, don't ever do your hair the way you want or wear them. Nobody's saying that. It's not all or nothing. But if I understand that men really, really, really like red, what's the harm in putting on a little red lipstick?
Yeah, what does Matthew Hussey call it? Dropping the handkerchief?
Yeah,
I think that's what he says.
You want to tell the story? Because I love that analogy.
No, he was somebody asked him, like, how do women shoot their shot, right? And
in modern
most women
day
would say they don't. They just wait for the man to do what he's going to do, and if he doesn't do it, then he's not the man for them. And he was saying that that's actually not how it's been done. Back in the day, if a woman saw that a man that she liked, the man that she thought was eligible, she would walk past him and drop her handkerchief. Oops. And, the man, being a gentleman, would pick up the handkerchief and say, ma'am, you dropped this. And his point was that you have to essentially throw the man an alley-oop, right? Like, not necessarily forwardly like a man, hey, I think you're cute, I want your number.
It's like,
boom, boom, but
hi.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because the other thing, too, is the stuff we see in the movie where, like, the person looks across the room and smiles. But that doesn't work. A lot of times, what if you're being nice? What if,
She's looking past you.
Times guys walk up to a woman who smiled at them, and I wasn't trying to, you know what I'm saying? I was just being nice, so it was awkward, so I smiled. So we need a little bit more.
A little. Y'all want to know what I did? My butt would be, I would notice, like, because, at the time he was just a supervisor, I think. So he'd work later than everyone else. So I made sure, I stuck around an extra 15 minutes to prepare my calls for the next day. And then my little cubicle, I could see from my cubicle his office. So as soon as he was coming in, suddenly I'm ready to pack it in. Now we're both walking to the parking lot at the same time. Are you going home? Yes, I am too. Share an elevator. Oh, thank you. It's like, come on, ladies. We have to work our womanly wiles and, put it out there. And so he was the type of guy who literally could pick anyone he wanted. And so because I made it very easy for him to have a segue, he didn't feel like he had to just, beg to get my attention.
Perform,
Right. Because men who are alpha that could get any, they not doing all the shucking and jiving. Ladies, you better pick up the cues. Okay?
Right.
So he was very chill. He was not sweating me. He was not thirsty. But he sure made sure he put in the work. Okay, so it's that beautiful dance. And somebody was like, "Oh, you have to play this game," and I was like, "Don't look at it like a game. Like, look at it like a fun dance. Who doesn't like to dance? You move, I move. You dip,
just
I dip,
like that.
I'm just saying, like, have fun with it. Let me see, Yasi, did you bend and snap? Okay. So anyway, my thing is, ladies, we're blessed with intuition. This comes back to the feminine energy, okay? Men are very logical, very da-da-da-da-da. Women, it's spiritual. We are very in tune with the spirit realm. And so if you take a man who is very forward-thinking, very logical, very, the math will always math with a man, okay, so to speak. And then you take a woman who is like, you put those two together, that is a powerful power couple. So
absolutely.
He can only look at the math so far, but it takes a creative and a visionary to say, you know what? Maybe these phones don't need cords. Maybe these phones could have video on it. Maybe how we make that work? And you come together and form synergy. But a lot of people are leading with fear. I'm afraid that I'm going to get the wrong guy. And this is where I throw the spirituality right back in it. If you pray and you have discernment, God will show you. God will show you things that you otherwise didn't see. And the other thing that a lot of women have is they have a spirit of desperation. They're so desperate to not have to work anymore. They're so desperate for kids. They're so desperate to have the IG photos that they subconsciously overlook all these things. The reason I know this is because when they come to me after the divorce, they go, I saw all that stuff, but I was just so hungry for it. So I feel like there's an accountability that we have to take. And we have to be realistic about who we chose, because this is the part that frustrates me. When you give a solution and the people take something and do the worst thing with it and go, this solution fails. You just applied it to the wrong person. So if I'm saying wash your pet and you start washing your cat, like, he's not going to take it very well. Versus washing the dog. That's a horrible analogy, but she said I'm about to go home and buy handkerchiefs in bulk. I'm not mad. And I can play dumb. Like, people have told me, like, you need to be an actor because, I can play. I can get my tire changed. Y'all, ladies, men, close your ears. Would you just mind? Don't listen to this part, okay? This is for the ladies only. If I need my tire changed, if I need a discount, I just suddenly don't understand. And I'm telling you, ladies, like, you have so much power that you're not tapping into. And here's the ironic thing. Men love being a superhero. Like, he can actually low-key suspect you know how to change a doggone tire. But it's the fact that you want him to be so big and strong and help you. He just likes it. So it's like, why not let them have what they...
Men need to be needed, yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
How did you do it so fast? You just lifted that tire so easily. So I just think, ladies, we need to learn way more what men want, because I have a feeling, a very strong feeling, there were a lot of men who were very willing to snatch you up off the market before you had kids by two different guys. I'm not trying to be funny. There were a lot of men who wanted you when you didn't have two different kids by two different guys, or just a kid, period. Um, they wanted you before you became jaded because you dealt with all these guys who ripped your heart out. There were a lot of men who would have wanted you, but maybe at that time you didn't even notice because you were so focused on going out and partying or whatever you were doing. I'm just saying,
Thanks.
those situations did happen. Not every person.
Mhm.
All right, here's the next one. These are the other questions. Or actually, this
Okay.
isn't a question; it's a statement. I'm not even touch it. You just respond, and I'll respond after that.
Okay.
Women say, "I can't get a man because the men are just too intimidated by my success." Not the deep sigh.
I hear that a lot. Again, it goes back to that cognitive dissonance. There's certain stories we have to tell ourselves so we can sleep well at night, and that's one of them. If it's kind of like saying, "Oh, I can't keep a job because
I'm too qualified."
businesses are intimidated by my success." Like it's ridiculous, right? Because to either number one, the men that you actually qualify for are the men who are intimidated by your success, and that's all you see. Or the men who aren't intimidated by success are so put off by your masculine, disagreeable, uh, intolerable disposition that they treat you as if they're intimidated just to get away from you and not have to hurt your feelings. But ain't nobody intimidated by you.
And I would go so far as to say they don't even act like they're intimidated. They just leave.
Yeah. They just leave.
You see the man walking away and you put the label. I do not know any man who has ever uttered the words, "Shaniqua, I would love to marry you, but golly, you're just too intimidating."
Yeah.
All that money you make, the beauty, the way you articulate yourself, it's just no. That's not for me. That's not for me. I have never heard a man say that. I have only heard women say, "That's why I believe they did that." But I have private conversations with men and they say, "My gosh, she was fine. Oh, and she had a good job. She made good money. Oh, but she was only good for sex because her attitude.
And I've been preaching this for a very, very long time. Like, men and women are graded by a different curriculum. And a lot of times, like, you'll see a group of really successful women and they're all single, especially in our community, they're all single. And they're saying to each other that we are such great women. Why are we single? And my response to them in the nicest way possible is that you guys are great men. And you expect men to evaluate you on the same curriculum you would evaluate a man. No, you're a great dude. But based on what men are looking for, you don't check our boxes. You don't do it for us. You know what? The resume you need to get a job at a hospital is different than the resume you need to get a tech job. And they could both be high paying jobs and this, and that. But like, again, if you want a man, this is what men are looking for. We're looking for beauty. We're looking for agreeableness. We're looking for friendliness, a cheerful disposition. We're not looking for a boss. Like, this whole boss babe conversation is really like, it's starting to annoy me because it's selling people a bill of goods. Like, it doesn't work practically.
I said to somebody, because I heard a guy say this about hips. He said, "What if I said to you, I have the perfect man. Okay, this dude is kind, considerate. He has no kids, great job. Oh, and his hips.
He's got a nice set of hips.
They are like you talking figure 8. His waist is snatched.
That's right.
He keeps his fingers manicured. Oh my God. And you know what? He actually wants kids so badly that as soon as he gets married, he wants to stay home and start working on that family. He is so in touch with his emotions. He cries a lot, especially during and after sex. He is the most gentle creature. And you know what? He just gets analysis paralysis. He hates making decisions and he hates leading. So he cannot wait for a woman who's just going to take the reins, take the reins, lead the family, take care of the finances. He is a perfect catch. The women be like, the hell am I doing with this dude?
Yeah, I'll help him find somebody.
Right.
I got a girlfriend for him. I got, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna set him up in my dating school. But and I think if we're being completely honest, women know this on a deep level. I've heard women, for instance, talk about a guy that they just met. He was 6'3", he was muscular, he was handsome, jawline, the whole nine.
Beard connect?
But as soon as, beard connects, is filled in the whole nine. But as soon as he opened his mouth, there was no bass in his voice. And just like that, it's over with.
And just like that.
Like all the things become null and void. And women understand it that way, but when it comes to men, they don't think we do the same exact
But that's the
thing.
problem. My husband had to break me of this. I could say salt was the worst condiment ever. It's, leads to, what is it? High blood pressure and, it's over you. I could go so hard against salt. And when I tell you the next day, it was like I blacked out and I would just be the biggest advocate of salt. Oh my God, it goes great on popcorn. It's like that little thing that you just, and he was like, you have to be joking. When we first really started getting into it, he was like, you have to be joking. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? And this is the only reason why I empathize or at least I believe that they really don't consciously know it. And you are saying subconsciously, but they don't connect those. And so what would happen was he would go, yeah, so yesterday, and I'd be like, oh, like I really didn't connect it. So that's why for me, when I keep making those comparisons, the woman goes, oh, and going back to the earlier one, you want a man who makes more than you because it makes you feel feminine.
Right.
But if a man wants to make more than you because it makes him feel masculine, you think it's chauvinism? And that suddenly it's that he's insecure and he's intimidated? No, how about it's just that's not how we're wired. So are you intimidated by a man who makes less? Can we say that? So should we do that? She's intimidated by a man who makes less.
Yeah, I'm gonna start saying that.
He was intimidated.
No, you're intimidated by a man who makes less.
You're intimidated by men who switch their hips.
Exactly.
You're intimidated by men who, yes, girl.
Mm-hmm.
You're intimidated by
voices, that. You're intimidated.
He's in your jeans. He's sharing jeans.
But I think that speaks to the culture that we've created for women. Women never actually, for the most part, have to self-reflect, right? Because women can do no wrong in our culture, especially in this country, right? You can do no wrong, so it must be everybody and everything else other than me. I'm perfect. I'm infallible. I'm benevolent. So it must be that he's intimidated or they don't like me or this. Maybe your attitude is terrible.
It can't be.
Maybe you don't look as good as you think you do.
Okay, see now. I actually forgot this on the list. We're going to go there.
Okay.
The fact that a woman, we're going to talk about doublestandards.com, .org, and .net, okay?
Okay, all right. .edu.
We can throw in the edu. We can actually university.
Yeah.
We can talk as women about the beard connecting, right? Seconds ago I just made that joke. It's funny because it's said all the time. You immediately laugh because it is so common to say. Okay? Beard connecting, how much control do men have over it? All right, that's a
0.
donut.
Goose egg, yeah.
We talk about a man's height. How much control?
0.
We talk about his how much control?
0.
Okay. So we go into a man. We even talk about, boldly. Oh, I like a dark skinned dude. I ain't like light skin. Look at these light skinned men be squinting and stuff like that. Okay. We can actually do colorism as women. No problem. 0 control. I mean, you guys could go outside and tan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let a man say, hey, your belly is hanging below your panties.
End of the world.
End of the What about my personality? Did you care about his personality when his beard didn't connect?
Right.
Did you care about his personality when he had a micropene? Did you care about his personality when he was standing 4'11"? You sure didn't, because we see the outside package first. But you take that same standard, and he is Satan himself. If he happens to say,
well, I think that's because women feel entitled to a man. But a lot of times we have to earn y'all. Y'all never have to earn us. So if I never have to earn you, how dare you critique me? Right. And I think what tends to happen, and this is the part that I'm the most like passionate about, a lot of times like women will get that high value man and ruin it because they feel like he's just supposed to be there. He's supposed to tolerate and take her as she is and accept whatever comes with it. And it's like, at some point men get to the point where we're like, no, we don't. Especially as our value increases with our age. But I'm just trying to help women understand it until it's too late, before it's too late. That's all.
There was I think he's a rapper, Kevin Gates. And he said he was at the point of wanting to commit suicide because he literally felt like he was just a means to an end. He said he did not feel like he was valued as a human being. And it is a very difficult thing, with the guy who just wants acknowledgement. Remember I was saying back when I asked women, do you know what the top 5 things that men want? What I've noticed in my research is a good old thing called acknowledgement. It's an old attaboy. That's it. Every now, just attaboy. You're noticed. I'm grateful, and I'm going to take the time to let you know it. He will run himself to actual death. And I'm not trying to be patronizing by comparing you guys to puppies, but he's like a puppy. A puppy will literally do anything just to get this. You don't have to get him a nice kennel. You don't have to get him filet mignon. You don't have to get him a special dog groomer. You just every now and then, that's it. He good. And so many women say, why do I need to express that? That's his job.
Yeah. And, somebody, I think it's a comedian, he made the analogy that, men are like dogs,
Kev, I think Kev on stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Men are like dogs and they're loyal and this and that. Obviously they have some sexual deviances to them, but women are like cats.
Yeah.
It's like if you ever try to walk a cat, a cat is going to do what it's going to do. And that I think that ends up being the frustration because the women are like, be more like a cat. The men are like, be more like a dog.
Right.
And we're not understanding each other.
Yeah. I think if we took the time to actually ask, this is one of the steps that I do on my marriage counseling, literally say, what are your needs? And I do this one exercise where I give them a list of 10 things, like the top 10 things that humans want. And I have them put it in order. And so with one of the couples, his sex on there was number 6. And his wife was like, what the? Like, and she was
number 1, yeah.
Right. She assumed it was going to be number 1. So she immediately, during our session, begins to berate him, kind of like, geez, what's wrong with you? Why is sex so low? And I said, time out. First of all, sex is not low on his list. This list says, I don't even want sex until these things are tended to. When I tell you her
Right.
eyes got so big, I said, that would be like you being a woman in labor, okay? Your body's being ripped apart, a baby's being pulled through, you got needles poking into you, you know, IVs, stuff is going around, there's a room full of people, and your husband's like, hey baby, you want to get in real quick? You'd be like, what? You don't see what's going on right here? It's not that you don't want sex. It's that there are so many things pressing for your attention before you can even appreciate that. And as we went through the list, it was wanting to have communication, be clear, feeling like he was getting affirmations, getting like, and I said, I guarantee you, if these things were being tended to, oh buddy, that sex was gonna come to the top of the list.
Absolutely.
So we often don't even understand the other person because we're operating with them functioning at their lowest because they're just, you know what I'm saying? Like they're at their wits' end. And you're like, what a horrible partner. Yeah, you would be too if you were being starved and beaten and you know.
And I mean in women's I guess slight defense, I think what happens is men have to develop at least a working understanding of the female mind, female nature, to be able to like seduce y'all, and persuade is a better word than seduce. To persuade y'all to be interested in us, right? If we're not blessed with just movie star good looks and money out the wazoo, we have to understand, okay, this is how women work. Women never, for the most part, never really have to understand men. And that becomes evident in relationships because I don't know how the male mind works. So I rest on my laurels of, oh, you just beat him and have sex with him, the other F. And he should be happy. And it's like, no, we're full complex human beings too.
Multi-dimension?
Yeah, a couple of them. At least 3.
So you're saying 3 dimensions. That you have more to you than you express to your partner.
Absolutely. We're humans.
Wow. This is the part that cracks me up. So many men have PTSD from their partner, so they learn to compartmentalize and hold in their emotions. Then the partner ridicules them for not expressing themselves.
Their emotions, yeah.
And they don't see the connection. Like, you have it's Pavlovian law. What is it? Pavlovian rule or whatever. You punish a person enough when they express their emotions, they stop expressing their emotions.
Right.
And so, God, I just have such a passion for men and women. By the way, I want to say this really quick for people who, because I'm being really heavy-handed with women right now. The reason I do this, and by the way, I did a video on this saying why men behaving badly is not my business. It's because women are the ones who seek my help. Women are the ones who are not getting what they want. So the person who is unsatisfied is the person who solicits help. It's not to say that men are not, I'm not saying men are not dropping the ball. I've seen toxic behavior. However, I can't make, let's say Alan, for example, I can't make Alan do anything. Alan has to want to do something. All I can do is learn how to change my boundaries to keep me safe and to learn what a healthy version of Alan would want. Those are the things that are in my power. Protect myself and attract the right thing. So it doesn't help me to make content for a man who doesn't think he has a need.
It's true. That's very true.
I'm not going to sell a duck a towel. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. So,
and I mean, to that point, that's one of the critiques I get. Like, why am I not talking to men? And I think what people don't realize is that men literally create our lives around some way, shape, or form pleasing women.
Thank you.
So literally, the men you see are a reflection of the men that women picked.
Get out my notes. I'm getting sick of you, sir.
So if we want different men, if we want better men, we have to start incentivizing different behavior and replicating. Because that's the other thing. When you have somebody's child, you're literally cloning them. And I'm telling women this: you're literally signing up to risk your life to clone them. because the mortality rate amongst pregnant women is high. So if we keep seeing futures, for instance, that's because, or at some time on at some level, women agreed that this is what we wanted to see more of. So either we're going to say women are powerful and they're creators and they're strong and this and that, or we're not. And I believe that they are. I believe they're all those things. But if we want to see better men, we have to start incentivizing them. In the 70s, you couldn't walk up to a girl unless you had a full suit on.
Full suit and addressed her with the proper terminology.
You see what I'm saying? But now that would get you laughed out of the room. So again, what are we incentivizing?
If we, and this is another one of the cues, so you guys are going to see this. If women suddenly said, blue beanies are the sexiest thing, I just get,
Man.
Oh my God, blue beanies would fly off the shelves. If we said, you know what, Flava Flav with the clocks around his neck, men would all be going out and getting the clocks. Not because they like the clocks, it's because they like the panties that the clocks get. And this is why I say to women, you might not like the responsibility, but if you actually turn it the other way around, I would rather have the power of a woman. Because the power of a woman can completely change a culture and therefore a society. A man is just following the cookie, proverbial and otherwise. So if you say, why don't you just work on the man, bear with me, I'm about to say what sounds like a patronizing comparison, and it is a little patronizing. But it's like saying, I have a child or a dog. I'm going to put candy in front of the child. I'm going to put a steak in front of the dog. And I'm going to focus all my energy on teaching the child to not grab the candy. And I'm going to spend my entire day trying to teach the dog not to eat the steak. If you want to argue what's fair, okay, maybe you have an argument for fairness. It's not fair that you're having to modify your behavior. But what seems much more effective instantaneously? If that little dog and that little kid cannot reach up on the counter, why not put it on the counter? And with women, we have taken the cookies, we've taken them out of the cookie jar, we have not only put them on the floor, we've actually broken them into bite-sized pieces, we've chewed it up and did all the chewing for them and then fed it into the dog's mouth or the kid's mouth. Okay, if I could just really go. We have disincentivized any man from having to figure out how to get up on the counter and how to somehow pry open that jar of cookies. And then you're turning around and saying, why can't the men just change?
It doesn't work like that. I think, I keep using biblical references, even though I'm not the best Christian. The Bible talks about Samson being the strongest person in the Bible. And, when I read the story, I learned that Delilah was the strongest person in the Bible. And not because she could overpower Samson, but she could seduce, she could persuade, and it led her to single-handedly conquering the most powerful man in the Bible. Now, I think, unfortunately, too many of our women would rather be Samson these days, even though that's not their ministry. They're not built like that or for that, right? And if you lean into what you're actually good at, the Delilah energy, the persuasion, the seduction, the influence, the power of influence, as opposed to domination, your outcomes would be a lot better for you, I think.
That's a whole soundbite right there. If you had the power to dictate and control versus seduce and get people to willingly come, is that even a question?
I think this was the best, that it just encapsulates what we're talking about perfectly. That right there. Oh yeah. It's not brute force. It's that right there.
I love to say this, and I joke with ladies because sometimes I'll teach ladies little tricks on the side. And I said, watch this. See that guy over there? I can get him to come over here. All it takes for a woman who can tap into her feminine energy. Do the eye contact.
It's easy.
That's it. Easy. I don't have to get up, walk over, beg, give him that's it. And that's why I said it's mind-blowing. Men will literally work until they die just for this. and you would rather go out and work until you die. Make that make sense. And they're saying, we don't want that. We don't want that. Yes, you are, because your actions are showing it. If you say you're afraid to depend on a man, we gave you a solution. If you say you have bills to pay, we've given you a solution. We have given a solution to every single scenario that you've given, ladies, and you've given a lot. And there's no other excuse. A man will marry a woman if she is suitable. And you have to be at the top of your personal game. I don't care if you only have 2 teeth. You can still floss those 2 teeth. You can brush those 2 teeth, make sure those 2 teeth don't have a cavity. Whatever God gave you, work it out. Work it out. If you only have one hand, make sure it's manicured. Like, men are willing to build bears all day. They just want a bear that's freaking fun to hang out with and looks well groomed. That's a blessing to be a woman. It's not a curse to be a woman. You say this is a man's world. Okay, it might be a man's world, but it's more like a man's responsibility. I feel like a child when I'm a feminine woman. I was with my husband, and I said, oh, it's been a while since the bots were here. Oh, it's like old times. Okay, let me ban them on my channel. But I remember we went to the movies, and I was on my phone checking my IG, of course, and I'm always multitasking, and I caught myself just walking into the street because in my peripheral view, he started stepping off the curb. And I said, you know, this is the thing that I love about being with a man that I trust. It's instinctual to trust you. My head is not on a swivel and looking for cars. When I'm by myself, I do. Obviously, I have common sense. I'm an adult. I don't want to die. But if you're with a man who's doing his job, it's the freest feeling in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in the airport, you don't have to look at the gate. You're just follow your man. But it's a voluntary thing. It's not a, by force or I don't have any other options. It's a freedom. And that is something that, the mainstream media has made it seem like it's this punishment. Like you're a servant on a leash, like a dog, you're being pulled around against your will. Like, no, this man is willing to go to the ends of the earth for you if you would just let him and have some, take a minute to vet and make sure he's a good guy. Let me make sure I don't have anything left to see because we kind of went around. Young ladies, those of you watching in your teens, early 20s, because I do have a small demographic that fits that age group, learn what a man likes. Okay. And I do a lot of content on what a man likes, and they're very simple. If you want to know, I would say I'm just going to throw out five things. Groom yourself. Be neat. I didn't say decorate yourself, by the way. Huge difference. The more natural, the better. Okay. And this for a lot of other reasons, because there are a lot of people who look like women. We're not going to get into that, but they just like natural beauty, period. But it's also safer. So as much natural beauty, put a little gloss, okay, maybe pop in an earring, that whatever. Less made up, the better. Even your hair, the more simple the hairdo, the better. 2, just be kind. You don't even have to have subject verb agreement, okay? You could just kind of barely know English, but just be kind, fun to be around. That's it, kind and fun. And if you don't understand something, instead of challenging him, just ask questions. Oh, okay, what made you say that? Because you can learn a lot. It doesn't feel like you're coming at his authority. You might really have a genuine question, but in asking questions, you can show submission and respect and also learn something at the same time. If you want to really go over the top, learn how to cook. Learn how to cook, and just even if it's 1 or 2 meals, learn how to make them really, really well. And number 5, learn how to be feminine. Be feminine and make him feel wanted. Even if you know how to do something, let him have a role, an obvious role in your life. And a bonus one, make him feel like a piece of meat from time to time. Don't just make him have to always initiate sex. So if you just do those 5 basic things with, along with the handkerchief dropping thing, make yourself available, make it easy to be seen, make it clear that you like him. You don't have to ask him out. But young ladies, it's so much easier when you're young and fertile and don't have all the scarring that life puts around your heart. And ladies, if you have, past your prime, there is still hope. There are a lot of men who don't want kids. if you don't also want kids or whatever, there are a lot of people. But I'm gonna say this bluntly, you guys. What is the politically correct word? The less aesthetically pleasing a man finds you, the more enjoyable personality you must have. Not to say
Tom
that
Brady.
an aesthetically pleasing person doesn't need a
Tom
good
Brady
personality.
is not an athlete, but he's got the fundamentals. You have to strengthen, overcompensate with the fundamentals, and you can win.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things, because a lot of times people think about beauty, oh, well, I'm not a model and I can't help the fact da 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 da. But you can control your waistline. And don't come at me with my family genetics and I'm big
boned.
We're not gonna do that. You can control your waistline and how nice you are. Those two things, keep yourself groomed, be peaceful. You can stand out above 90% of the other women just on that alone. So I think those are the biggest things that I wanted to say. You're so kind because we literally went 2 hours on this. There's one last question I'm going to look at. Thank you, Faith, by the way. I love the engagement, you guys. It makes it so much more fun when people talk. I say when they don't comment, it's like a comedian giving a whole set and staring at a wall. Like everyone's just like this. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Faith said, let's talk about Black girls who grew up in a rough neighborhood, who can't be feminine. They're constantly having to protect themselves. Okay, Faith, help. I'm glad you said that. I think there was something I was supposed to come back to earlier. No, I think we came back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Please help me understand the connection between feminine energy and protecting yourself. Because your energy is situational. For example, if I'm walking with a little kid or if I'm walking on the street and a dog comes up aggressively, I will turn into a ninja. Like I'm grabbing stuff, I'm kicking, I'm doing whatever. Or if someone attacks me, I'm completely in my masculine. Like I am doing whatever I need to do to survive. If a little kid runs up to me, I'm instantly going to nurturing. Dog comes back, kid comes back, nurture. Like, so I don't understand as though it is like a permanent switch that is fixed.
I think that's where therapy comes in, because some people literally only see dogs. So even the kid, they would interpret them as a dog. Like they don't know how to make the distinction, unfortunately. Especially if you have the right kind of PTSD. It makes it where you have become so cynical. Everything looks like a dog. Wow. So that's why I'm such a big advocate for therapy, because until you've done the work, like, yeah, what she's saying is real. There's some women, they don't know how to turn it off at all.
You know what? You're right, because I've seen situations, and it's going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but this is actually, I've seen stuff like this. Someone could say, like, oh, those braids are cute, right? What's wrong with my braids? Like, they'll even hear a compliment as... Yeah.
It's the saddest thing. It's the saddest thing.
This is one of my promises to you ladies. I took a bunch of screenshots of the comments and things like that. You guys, please support YouTube. Go to YouTube, click the like button, if anything, because it really helps me, okay? Please do that for me. It's the same thing, but you have a way better background and graphics and all that stuff, and you can see the comments. Sorry, guys, I was talking Instagram. But I was reading these comments, and these ladies were explaining their stories, and they were talking about how one lady, she said, you're speaking like you just came from this place of privilege. And I really pride myself on being very open-minded, and I do recognize my privilege. I grew up with 2 parents. I did not grow up in a neighborhood where I wondered if I was going to be injured I was going to say on my way to school, but I was in a car, so I wasn't even walking to school. I never didn't know where my next meal was coming from, so there were a lot of things that I did not have to go through. So I am open-minded and I do listen to all the comments. And one of the things that hurts is when I know that a woman feels like she's not being addressed in the content. I don't want any woman to read the content and feel like, yeah, that doesn't even apply to me because I'm so unqualified. You know what I'm saying? Or like somebody saying, oh, which Ivy League school are you going to? Well, boy, I'm not going to Ivy League. Like, I'm not even going to go to college, not even community college. What are you talking about? Which school am I going to? Like, I don't even need to read that comment, that post, because it's about college, So I just want the ladies to know that I am listening as much as possible. I want to put myself in a position where I could see the world through your eyes, because it also changes the way I write the posts. And I realize that a lot of the posts, I'm saying this respectfully. I'm saying things as though it's obvious. Like, if you don't want 4, don't put 2 with 2. And I'm getting the feedback like, I was never even told what a 2 looks like. And,
yeah, it's wild.
It's very sobering.
It's wild, yeah.
So
I think that's why I have so much like patience when I'm engaging in these tough conversations, because you quickly realize that, yeah. Like one of the things, for instance, we talked about, I asked the question, is peace scarier than chaos? Because we were trying to address why, women gravitate to certain types of men in certain types of situations. And her response was, yes, it is. Because if you're only familiar with chaos, that's your comfort zone.
Yes.
Right? And with peace, it seems like just the pause before the proverbial roller coaster drops, right? And that is really because, in Nigeria, for instance, some of us slept on the ground. We didn't have mattresses. And what was crazy, well, it makes sense when you study the human mind, but if you sleep on the ground long enough, a mattress becomes uncomfortable. So even when you get to the point in life where you can't afford a mattress, you would leave your mattress and go back to sleeping on the ground because that's what you're familiar with, right? So in the young lady's case, like that is very, very possible, and it's simply you need therapy, and it's not a condescending you need therapy, but literally there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked through.
Yeah, it's so true though, because a lot of times, like when you said the calmness, it's like you're just waiting for the shoe to drop. It reminds me of the movies. If you've ever seen a horror movie, it's like it's not scary when it's the birthday party scene and the kids are running around. It becomes scary when the volume goes down. Because you're like,
too quiet.
Yeah, something is about to happen, and it's true. If you have only seen emotions being expressed on a grandiose scale, you equate caring with these high emotions. So if you have a guy who's not screaming, yelling, picking fights, you're like, you don't even care about me.
Yeah, he must be gay. That's why.
No, I'm glad you said that. So many women say men are dogs, all they want is sex, all they want is sex. And then they encounter men who say, I actually don't want sex unless I have an attachment to her. I value my body count. I'm not a male whore. And these men are like, Yancy, literally the number of times I've been called gay. It's so backwards. Things are so backwards. Wow, that was a lot to marinate on. Ladies, keep teaching me. Continue to keep teaching me. I'm really looking forward to, what is it? The brown couch? What do you call it? The brown chair? The brown couch?
People call it the brown chair. So it's just the chair that I got from Walmart. So
I'm looking forward to it.
It's now the brown chair.
But it's a really cool, distinguishable format, kind of like, the red table, all that stuff. Like,
I appreciate it.
It's a nice pop with the white. But I'm looking forward to one day gracing, Lord willing, that brown chair. It'll be good.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
This was a lot of food for thought. I really am like marinating over here. Yeah, she said now it's a simp. Let's keep the conversation going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep talking. And guys, and you can add into this too as we close. Please be careful. I did a post. Did I post it yet? I don't know if I posted it yet. But I said, men, the ladies are listening. They're watching. And you always know when, somebody is getting convicted because they will not say a word, but suddenly my share, you can see the insights on the post, the share, or not the share, the save, the insights, they're saving it. So that tells me the women are listening and they're paying attention. But inevitably there comes a guy who makes this sarcastic comment like, crickets, yeah, ain't got nothing to say now. And it's that thing we talked about, or that was my live where I was saying women feel safe in a place that seems emotionally safe and it's loving and encouraging and all that stuff. They'll come forward, they'll tell you anything you want to know. But when you begin to jeer them and tease them and berate them, and this is why all those little condescending remarks, oh, this is why black men don't want black women. It's what she said. Oh, it's really important to know that you can actually hurt with your words. So that old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, it's such a good thing. Just don't say it. If you're not contributing to the woman's healing, they don't need to be piled on. When black women get so much heat, they don't need one more foot on their neck. Okay, yeah, see, I'm looking at the comments. So feel free to plug. Do you have any projects? Let them know where they can find your channel, because your channel's phenomenal.
I appreciate it. Well, I want to first of all thank you for having me. This was a really cool conversation. I appreciate everything we talked about. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience, your questions, everything. I'm on YouTube at We Need to Talk. Just We Need to Talk, one word. Instagram is WNT Talk, and that's pretty much everything. Check out the videos, comment. I try to read as many comments as possible. Feel free to email me, wnttalk@gmail.com. And stay tuned. We're going to have Yancy on the brown chair, brown couch.
A brown girl on a brown chair.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. I just commented in the comments so people watching the replay can go back and see. I'm actually going to put your Gmail. You said WNTtalk@gmail?
At gmail.com.
Okay, so we're just going to put the little @ so it doesn't turn into a hyperlink, but y'all can see it. His videos are so good, you guys. It's very it almost reminded me of Sharon Stone in the scene where she's getting interviewed. It's just very much the subject is the main person in the camera, and then you hear his voice off camera, and he's asking very poignant questions. And he's allowing the women the space to answer and think on their feet. And so it is fascinating. I was legitimately watching this. So support him, support our Black creators, Avi. And you guys, I will see you next week. You are welcome. I'm going to close. If you have the 2 minutes, you can stay on. If not, if you have to tap off, I understand. But you guys look forward to my course. I actually had to push my course, The Divine Union, forward. Push it back, I guess would be technically the term. Because you guys, I literally felt a divine inclination to wait. And I'm so glad that I did, because every day I would literally wake up out of my sleep with I call them spiritual downloads. It's so much that I could hardly write them down. And so I've been testing these things out on my couples that I counsel, and I have gotten phenomenal results. So I'm really excited to launch The Divine Union, where I teach men how to tap into divine masculine energy, as opposed to the complete opposite of toxic, by the way. And then how women can tap into divine feminine energy. And then you bring those two together. That is the definition of a power couple. A divine masculine and a divine feminine coming together to form a divine union. So make sure you're on my email list. All the links are in the description or on my email bio, and sign up, because you'll be the first one to be notified when it officially begins, because I'll be doing the courses live for the first round. All right, guys, follow me everywhere as Chasing Yancy, just all the socials, okay? And until next time, tell someone that you love them, and I hope it's super obvious just how much I love you. Good night.
Do you need me for this?